Why does Israel keep losing the argument? For the same reason that it loses the war, because it follows the rules. Now, following the rules is fine. If you're having a debate in your debating club and everybody follows by the same rules, and you're trying to rationally and intelligently prove a point to a rational and hopefully intelligent opponent, to a rational and intelligent audience, then debating by the rules is perfectly fine. If, however, you are at war with, physically, militarily, and also in the realm of ideas, with an enemy that follows no rules, then you cannot follow the rules. And there is a basic Jewish fallacy. It's not just a Jewish fallacy, it's a Western fallacy, which is that you can rationally win an argument, and when you've rationally won the argument, then everybody knows that you're right. And in the real world, it does not actually work this way. I'm sorry, it does not. The other side doesn't fight by the rules, it doesn't argue by the rules either. The different approaches of the pro-Israel, the Jewish argument, and the Arab Muslim, the leftist, the anti-Israel argument, are polar opposites. The Arab Muslim argument is, you killed 10,000 people, and the Jews, no, this is not actually true. Here, let me show you the actual evidence that this did not happen, and we're going to spend days, weeks, hours, months on this, showing that this did not actually happen, and we have proved that it did not happen. The Arab Muslim come back, you killed 20,000 people, 30,000 people, wait, 40,000 people, 50,000 people, do I have 60,000 people, going once, going twice, 100,000 people? The other side concedes absolutely nothing, makes non-stop accusations, never bothers to meaningfully defend those accusations. For the most part, it just continues escalating the argument over and over again. It always claims to be the victim, concedes absolutely nothing, does no self-examination. It maintains a perfectly consistent, albeit absolutely false argument. Whereas, in response to this trolling, the pro-Israel argument, is to prove, no, this is not actually true. And they think that by doing this is not actually true, we're going to prove our case. They're winning the argument. They are not, for the most part, winning the argument. One side is going on the offensive, and the other side continually thinks that it's going on the defensive when it's actually engaging in the defensive, and it thinks that arguing that it is on the defensive will prove that it's justified. But it does not actually work that way. The Arab Muslim side, the pro-Hamas side, has a very, very simple and clear agenda. It's not interested in the details of the argument, it is interested in the trajectory of the argument. Like in a boxing match, it's not the individual punches that matter so much. The punches set up the trajectory of where the fight is going. And this is why the anti-Israel side, the pro-Hamas side, the pro-terror side keeps winning the arguments over and over again. Because they're interested in the trajectory of it, not in any individual argument per se. The arguments that they make are disposable. They're disposable by purpose. Israel killed everybody out of Shifa Hospital. No, we actually can show you, and then we're going to come back to Shifa Hospital. We're going to show that it doesn't matter. You killed the entire Shifa Hospital. The arguments are disposable. They're meant to set up a particular trajectory, a pattern for the fight. And what does the arguments themselves matter less than where the argument is going, the trajectory of it, whose territory is the fight actually on? Think about that. There was a movie called The Manchurian Candidate. I don't want to get into the politics of McCarthyism right now, but the Senator Iceland, the character in the movie, is constantly changing the numbers of how many communists there are in the Defense Department. And at one point he asks his wife, who is the guiding figure behind all this, and asks her, can't we just settle on the number of communists in the Defense Department? And she basically tells him, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it does not matter how many communists are in the Defense Department. If you keep changing the numbers, then people are debating how many communists are in the Defense Department, not whether there are any communists in the Defense Department. So making bad arguments on purpose actually has a utility. It shifts the argument from where the other side would like it to go to where you would like it to go. The other side would like nothing more than for Israel to discuss how many people Israel has killed. Because it's a fundamentally failed argument. Think about, most people are not the attentive audience at a debate. They're not listening closely to it, they're getting the general thrust of it. And the goal of the pro-Hamas side, with its constant hysterical attacks, was to create the perception in most people that yes, maybe something happened to Israel on October 7th, but Israel has gone too far in response. It did more than was done to it. And polls show this is generally the conclusion that most people, certainly most Democrats, have come around to, that the Biden administration has come around to. And obviously there are other factors at work, and there's media bias, and there's all that. But the bottom line is that the Arab Muslim side, the pro-Hamas side, set out to create this perception, and it succeeded in doing so. It succeeded in doing so while the pro-Israel side has very much focused on chasing its tails when these kinds of arguments arise. They've made the argument that the accusations that side is making are not true. And if you're arguing about the truth or falsehood of the accusations of the other side, then you've already really conceded the argument, because now you're debating what the other side says rather than what you're saying. The goal of any argument, the goal of any messaging is to put forward your message, not to discuss the other side's message. Because if you're discussing the other side's message, you're amplifying it rather than suppressing it. And you're not making your argument, which is the most important point. The goal of this kind of, in the boxing match metaphor, is to keep hitting your opponent over and over again so that they don't actually have a chance to go on the offensive. And when it comes to arguments, this is what the Arab Muslim side does over and over again. The pro-Hamas side, the leftist side, it continues punching over and over again to ensure that there is no room for the pro-Israel argument to be made. And this is really part of the larger issue, the fallacy of the pro-Israel argument. I like to use a Talmudic example. And the Talmud, there is an example of a court case where two people come to court, they're arguing over the ownership of a coat. And one person says, this entire coat is mine. And the other person says, we're partners. We bought the coat together. Half the coat is mine. And if neither one can prove it, then the court has to do the Solomonic thing and split the difference. What that means, though, is that it's not splitting the difference of the coat, but the difference of the initial starting position. So the person who's arguing, the whole coat is mine, well, he gets half the coat. The person who admitted that half the coat is mine, only half the coat is mine, he gets only a quarter of the coat. And there's a danger in making these, when there's a argument in good faith, when there's a court case where you're being ethical and honest, you should actually, follow the rules. When you're dealing with people who do not follow the rules, who do not follow any rules either in war or in the sphere of the marketplace of ideas, then you really cannot cannot afford to play by any rules, and you can't afford to do anything than make the maximalist argument. The Arab Muslim side, the Hamas side, has always made the maximalist argument. We are completely the oppressed. We have had our territory taken from us. We deserve everything. We have done nothing wrong. Israel has done everything wrong. This is the argument they make consistently over and over again. And to a lot of Jewish people, it seems it's too nationalistic, it's too chauvinistic, it's too far. We can't say that. It's too much. People, well, the other side has no problem saying it, and they've won by saying it over and over again. They've gotten their way. The Talmudic example, Kol Shui, the other side argues that all of it is theirs, the Jews have no rights whatsoever. What's the maximalist response to that argument? Well, it's slowly beginning to be made. We've gotten to the point where more people actually in the pro-Israel side are actually talking about the Jews or the indigenous people, and talking about things like Hitler's Mufti rather than talking about the Peel Commission, and events in international law that happened 100 years ago, 90 years ago, that frankly nobody on either side cares very much about, except the people who spent a lot of time studying of them. And kudos to them, but it's not the argument that's the winning argument. What's the winning argument? The winning argument is the maximalist argument. All this land is ours. It was always ours. We are the indigenous people. The Arab Muslims are invaders, settlers, and colonists. When they attack us, they're practicing settler colonialism. This entire conflict goes back to when they decided to side with Hitler in World War II and try to exterminate the Jews. They are still at it now. They're the regional majority. They are at war not only with us, but with the entire world. And we are defending ourselves, and not only are we going to defend ourselves, we're going to go on the offense, and we're going to defeat them entirely, period. Not what people think of as the winning argument, but you know what? It actually is the winning argument. You don't win by losing, you don't win by conceding, you don't win by appeasing, you don't win by saying that you are the reasonable side, you're the side that is prepared to concede territory to the terrorists. Well, if they're terrorists, then why are you conceding territory to them? It's an inconsistent argument. Either you commit fully to it, or you give up. Give the Hamas side credit, give the terrorist side credit, they understand that. Our side does not understand that, and that's why we continue losing the argument and the war.